applications for client interviewing. Today we've got Monica and Zara being the counsels. We've also got Sam, who's generously dedicated his time to be the client today. And yeah, if you like what you see, please sign up for our intro programs. The applications close March 10th, so don't miss out. And I guess if you want to compete in what you're seeing today, applications for that close this Friday. So, yeah. Any questions, feel free to ask me. After this, if you want to go to comp students, we can all go together. So, enjoy.
No, I don't. Okay, cool. I guess we might just get started. Basically, this is like a 30-minute interview, so we'll just kick off and then you guys know.
Yeah, and I guess, unlike some other competitions, you get marked like as a team, so it's a very like teamwork kind of competition, but I guess you'll see it as it unfolds.
Alright, well, hi, it's lovely to meet you, Charlie. My name is Monica and my pronouns are she, her.
My name is Zara, and my pronouns are also she, her. So we're here from Sydney Law Associates & Co. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet us in our offices today. We would appreciate if you could start us off just by introducing yourself a little bit, any nicknames you might prefer, and also your pronouns.
Yep, so my name is Charlie Smith. My pronouns are he, him. I am a 21-year-old full-time student at the Sydney Institute of Art, and I work part-time at Craft Hotel.
Awesome. Well, lovely to meet you, Charlie. So we booked you in just for a 30-minute consultation today, but what we're going to do is we'll go over some housekeeping, and then we'll collectively discuss what's brought you here today. Then we'll finish off by going over some potential solutions. Does that structure work for you?
That sounds good.
Great, so to start off, this initial consultation is completely free, but our ability to take any action based on what we discussed today will depend on whether you choose to retain us. That's a decision that's completely up to you, and there's no rush to make that at all. Also, for your peace of mind, we've taken steps to ensure that there are no conflicts of interest with any other parties that we might represent.
Secondly, in terms of confidentiality, what you say in the notes we take here are privileged and confidential. So everything you say to us in this room stays in this room. So we would really appreciate you being as upfront and honest in this meeting as you can. The more accurate a picture that we have of your situation, the better we can provide advice that is truly in your best interests. While there may be some extreme instances where we need to break confidentiality, we'll make sure to stop and warn you of this before we ever reach that situation. You can make that choice as to whether to continue or not.
Great, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, do you have any questions about anything we've mentioned so far? Okay, so could you just tell us a bit about why you come to see us today? We're really looking for an overview of any and all issues that we can advise you on today.
Yeah, okay, so there's three main issues that I'm coming to you with where I feel like I have been cheated by various parties in my life, and I want justice to be served.
I'm really sorry to hear that. Feel free to tell us what you feel comfortable with. Also, sorry, before we actually begin, would you be able to tell us if you've been served any legal documents, so things like a statement of claim, at all?
Could you explain what that means?
So a statement of claim is essentially a legal document that's given to you when someone's trying to start proceedings or trying to make a claim for money against you. If you haven't come up with or you haven't received anything like that, don't worry about it. But if you do, while you're explaining to us what your issue is, if you do know that you have any legal documents that might be relevant, please refer to let us know.
And we'll also be happy to kind of explain what it means and help you with that moving forward.
Okay, I don't think I have anything.
That's all good. So just let us know briefly what the issues are that you'd like us to go over.
Yeah, okay. So the first thing is to do with my attendance at the Sydney Institute of Art. So I have been on a scholarship at the Sydney Institute of Art, which requires me to remain in the top 5% of the cohort each semester. And that scholarship is the only reason I can continue to attend the institute. Recently, I've been outside of the top 5% because I was approached earlier in the semester about the institute director about participating in the annual Red Hill Art Showcase, and that took a lot of my energy and efforts away from my actual studies and into the showcase.
Right.
And now the institute has sent me a letter basically saying that they want to review my scholarship, and so basically with this issue I just want to know what I can do to stop them from cheating me out of the scholarship that I should continue to have rights to.
We understand that that's a difficult issue, and we'll do our best to try to guide you with that and see if we can begin a process of dealing with it. Would you be able to take us over the other issues? You mentioned there were 3, so
Just like a very brief sort of overview
okay.
before we begin.
So the other thing is to do with my part-time work at Craftopia, which I already mentioned. Basically, I have this manager who I really hate. Everyone hates him. Like the worst manager I think I've ever had in my life. The worst manager I think anyone who's worked under him has ever had in their lives. And this all comes down to this asshole and what has been happening with them. So basically, I was working overtime recently, and then after having worked that overtime, I've been told that I was volunteering my services and I won't actually get paid for that. So the first thing is whether I can force my manager to pay me for the labor that I have rightfully earned a right to be paid for. And my second thing is that I've actually since that point received an email from Craftopia saying that my employment will be terminated effectively immediately.
That's a really difficult situation. I'm sorry that you're dealing with that on top of all of the issues that you have currently in your university. Would you be able to briefly tell us a little bit about the third opportunity before we...
Yeah, so the last thing is that I've regularly posted my artworks on an Instagram page. I have 148,000 followers and I'm fairly popular, not to toot my own horn, but I recently received a message from @Mugs4Life, which is a popular retail store which has over 2.1 million followers, and they were interested in a collaboration project. And basically we agreed that I would provide them with 5 unique designs and the exclusive rights to these designs in exchange for $7,500. And basically after I provided them with these designs, the 5 designs, they contacted saying that they will only pay me $4,500 for 3 of the designs.
Okay.
So I want to know if I can get the money that I was promised and that I should have gotten.
Okay, well, we'd be happy to help you with that, but just to kind of go over everything, so we've got, you've come to us with 3 issues so far. So, first of all, you have your scholarship and whether you can retain that with the Sydney Institute of Art, sorry. The next issue is to do with your part-time work at Craftopia. And then the third one is to do with the Mugs4Life collaboration. Are there any other issues that you would like for us to go over before we begin tackling the first one?
No, I think that's kind of everything that I did.
if anything else comes up at all, please make sure to let us know. It's really important that we have as much of an overview as possible. So we might just get started on getting some more details about the first issue. So in regards to your attendance at the Sydney Institute of Art, so we know that you mentioned to us that you have to be in the top 5%. So how long have you mentioned that you've slipped out of that? Has that, I guess, position outside of the top 5% only happened since you took on that project at Red Hill, the Red Hill Art Showcase?
Yeah, it's fully linked to that. I am an amazing student, otherwise I would have never lost it otherwise. It's entirely linked to the director telling me to do this showcase.
And has the school contacted you with any, I guess, formal measures that they want to take since you haven't necessarily been in that 5%?
Oh, well, again, it was just like the letter that they sent me recently saying that I need to attend a meeting with the Institute board.
Okay, and have you had any other communication with them at all since then?
Not since that point, no.
Did you at all suspect that in entering the art showcase this would affect your scholarship?
Yeah, I had concerns about this before I entered the agreement to participate in this, and I talked to the director about this, and I got told that my scholarship wouldn't be affected, but now they've just backtracked on everything and they're trying to cheat me out of what is rightfully mine.
Right, so when you were told this, was this over the phone, was this in writing, over text, or in person?
This was like an in-person kind of casual conversation, but yeah, I assumed that they wouldn't be cheats like this and try to like backtrack on their word, which they've done now.
Okay. When you began to attend the school, are you aware of this clause about being in the top 5% and this whole notion? Was that in your, I guess, your enrollment letter or something like that? Do you have any details as to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? Like, surely it's obvious from what I said that it's just, they told me as soon as I got the scholarship, but I need to be in the top 5.
Were there any other details that you could share with us about this issue at all?
Don't think so.
So, this conversation that you had with, Was it the art director that you had the conversation with?
Yes.
Yes, the institute director. Do you think that they would be willing to discuss with you further, I guess? Sorry, I actually don't know what I'm saying.
I guess, do you have a positive relationship with the director?
Let's say it's kind of neutral. Like, I don't love the director. It's only like come up if I need to.
Of course. And then in terms of the outcome, you just want to make sure that you can keep your scholarship and keep attending the institute.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay, great. So we can definitely look at some solutions and some ways to move forward. But we might just go to the second issue for now to address that. So you were telling us about your work at Craftopia. So from what you've told us, just from the beginning, it does seem like you definitely do have a basis to claim the money that you feel that you're owed. Did you sign any employment contracts or anything with them before you started working there?
I think I signed a contract.
Okay. And in terms of your boss, have you had any more communication with him since you got the email from Craftopia?
No. I mean, again, like the loser he is, he wouldn't have said anything. He just likes to not interact with anyone.
Is there any, what are the reasons that you seem to have a strained relationship with your boss?
Well, just because, like, as I said, no one likes, like, it's just like...
Just like personality
Yeah.
clash, or is it
just,
to do
it's
with
just
like the way he
everything.
operates?
Like, it's just like the embodiment of like everything that you cannot like in a person.
It sounds like a frustrating situation to deal with. Are there any incidents or anything you could point us to I guess, that make you feel that way?
Well, like, I always get assigned to shifts last minute. Like, it's like, I'll be like on the train home from the institute, coming back from the institute, and I'll get a message being like, oh, you have a shift tomorrow starting from like 3 and ending at like 9. And it's like, no forewarning, nothing, I'd have to come in.
Okay. Do you know what type of work that you were doing? Were you casual, were you part-time?
I think I was a part-time.
Are there any other details that you could tell us about your work at Craftopia?
Not that I can think of.
So what would you like to get out of this situation ultimately?
Well, I want to be paid for the labour that I've been cheated out of right now. And I want to stop the termination of my employment, which I think was completely unfair.
And also, how much were you getting paid, or were you meant to be getting paid per hour?
Well, the total overtime, I believe, would be something in like the $4,000 range.
Okay.
$4,000 to $5,000. And then per hour, I think I was like $40.
Okay. Okay. So did you have any other details that might be relevant to that issue at all?
Like, were you told at all by your boss that you would be paid? But this is again,
Yeah, I
in
mean,
person
like-
context.
Yeah, I didn't agree to it without being told that I was going to get paid. This was, just in a conversation I got, we talked about it, and I was told that I was going to get paid.
Yeah.
And then again, because he's the worst human imaginable, he just decides he doesn't want to pay me anymore.
And do you have evidence of this conversation at all?
No, this was a verbal agreement. And again, I mean, I thought that like, you can't just like not pay someone for overtime. Like, I'm sure you guys would know.
Yeah, that's completely understandable.
So to be clear, the work that you're not getting paid for is the overtime work, or is it all the work that you've done for the company?
It's the overtime work.
Oh, the overtime work. Okay. Sure. So if there's nothing else you want to let us know about that, I guess we'll just move on to...
Well,
yeah.
we should probably discuss the termination.
Yeah.
So is there anything in your mind that actually prompted your termination?
Well, 2 weeks before my shift ended, so 2 weeks ago when my shift ended, after I was very angry at this obnoxious manager, as any human, except for a psychopath maybe would be in this situation. So I was really angry at the manager because I kept getting told repeatedly in the most annoying way, the most annoying tone, like the most patronizing tone, to mop the floors repeatedly after I'd already done it. It was like non-stop verbal harassing. After all this had happened, I took some paint from the store in rage, and I didn't pay for the paint.
Right.
And do you know if your manager or the company was aware of that or found out about it?
Well, I actually have no clue.
Right, and was this, I guess, a one-off incident? Like, was this the first time that you had ever taken something like that or engaged in this kind of conduct?
Well, not really, not quite. There might have potentially been some similar conduct in the past.
Could you tell me
Yeah.
how many times, or maybe like the estimated value of what you've taken?
And also, just as a reminder, like, this conversation is entirely confidential. Like, we want as much information for you as possible so we know how we can best help you going forward. So just a reminder that we're on your side here.
Yeah. So I believe that the total may have been in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Just to reiterate, this is confidential, but to fulfill our moral and ethical duties, we do have to advise you not to partake in any such conduct again. If you do have the opportunity, I'm sure you're aware of that, but it's just something that we have to mention.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't want you to be exposed to any more potential claims against you, because it does open you up to more potential liabilities. Like, even if it's not necessarily the worst, like, sorry, I'm painting tin here and there, it is just, kind of conduct that we don't want you to be engaging in to further detriment the relationship.
But since that's something that's already covered, we'll definitely look to seeing how we can take some steps forward and help you deal with the situation as it arises. But just to make sure to what you know, and also like from the letter that you got from the company, they haven't actually mentioned anything about any stolen property or anything like that.
Well, now that you mention it, I think I've got some sort of like something from them. I wasn't sure what it was, but it was some kind of document that I didn't understand. And that's where I got the number for the value. That's what they're alleging that I stole. I mean, I also don't even think I stole that much. I think, again, because they're just lying. Like, at most, it's just like bits and pieces every now and then. Which I think it was completely in my right to do as an employee of the store. But I think they're just trying to exploit the situation to just cheat me out of more money because the manager hates me.
Right, so in this letter, is there some kind of directive that they want out of this? Like, are they asking you to, like, bring the goods back or possibly pay them back? Or is this just a justification for termination?
I'm not sure what the letter was meant to mean. I just know that it was something like some sort of legal document that I didn't understand.
We understand that it can be confusing with legal jargon and all of that, but we'll do our best to maybe look at those letters later and see if we can help you there. So you mentioned earlier that you thought that it was your right as an employee to, I guess, like take items from the store. Could you let us know why you thought this, or was there anything that kind of led you to believe that?
Well, I mean, I just thought that it was only right that as an employee, I should be able to benefit from working in the store, other than just having a wage. I think that's justice to not let the big corporations take all the profits while the little individuals suffer. So I think it's only right to take matters into our own hand and try and restore the balance through stuff like this.
Alright. Okay, so we understand. So just to summarize this issue, essentially you had that dispute with your boss. He hasn't been paying you for the overtime with an estimated value of about $5,000 of wages, which you haven't received.
Mm-hmm.
You regularly asked to come to shifts, like with very little notice, and you're just expected to attend them. And then separately, you received a legal document from the company, one about ending your employment, and then the other one about $10,000 worth of stolen goods.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else at all that you need to start? Just a reminder that it's really important for us to have all the details. So if there's anything else that we've missed or you haven't, that hasn't.
Is there anything else you want to know from us? Like any kinds of questions you have?
Well, I mean, I want to know if you guys can actually do something about this, because like that's kind of.
Alright, well, after we kind of discuss all the different issues that have brought you here today, we'll then go into potential solutions. That'll help you on issues. So going into the third point, if that's all on that one. So this is to do with the message from Mugs for Life. Would you be able to tell us a little bit more about that situation?
Yeah, well, as I said, we had this agreement, and they just broke the agreement, just like the other two cheats that I've talked about already. Everyone's just trying to cheat me out of money, and these guys are no exception. So, like, I'm entitled to $7,500. Like, we have an agreement, and they just broke it.
No, that does sound incredibly frustrating.
And again, how was this agreement made? Was this a formal contract? Was this a conversation?
This was a verbal agreement made on a phone call, so there wasn't any like physical or digital agreement.
Okay. Okay, so after you made that verbal agreement, did you have any like communication with them in between the time when you actually gave them the drawings that they asked for?
Well, not from memory. So I think I delivered my 5 drawings, and that's when the issue started. So that's when they were like, "Oh, we can only take 3 of the drawings. The other, we're only going to pay 4,500 for 3 of them."
Is there a reason they only wanted 3 of the drawings when they initially asked for 5?
Yes. So only 3 of them were actually unique, and the other 2, yeah. So only 3 of them were unique.
And would you be able to tell us a little bit more about the other 2?
But does it really matter what happened to the other 2?
Again, we know that it can sometimes be difficult to talk about things like this, but it is important for us to have all the details so that we can act in your best interest.
And again, like, you know that everything that's said here is confidential, and it is just in your best interest to kind of tell us what's going on to the best of your knowledge.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I can say. Basically, 2 of the alcohol designs were like potentially inspired by artworks I saw on a competitor's page.
Could you let us know who the competitor was?
The competitor was at Art with Shannon.
And have you had any kind of interaction with your competitors, like, in relation to this?
No, I don't think I've heard from the competitor. Only from Mark's Life, who said that they're not going to pay me for the other 2 designs.
Okay. And I guess what would you be looking to in regards to this issue?
Well, I mean, I want to be paid for the full sum that I got promised.
Mm-hmm. And would you be open to, I guess, maybe coming up with another few designs if it meant that you got to get the whole sum?
Well, I mean, I don't really think that they were copied. Like, they're saying that they were copied, but I think they were more like inspired. I still think that they were original, in my opinion. So I think they're just trying to use it as an excuse to cheat me out of my money.
And with your competitor's page, so with Shannon, are they aware of the designs that were, I guess, inspired by their artwork?
I believe so. I believe they have found out.
And do you know, I guess, what they think about it? Are they okay with this? Have they expressed any kind of dislike?
Again, this wasn't told to me, like I said. I haven't heard anything from them directly. But I believe they've made a statement saying that they think that my entire page is a fraud and that they want a public apology.
I'm sorry to hear that. That
But
must be really tough.
again, as I said before, I only took inspiration from their page, and I will roll over in my grave before I issue any apology to them.
Yeah, we understand you put a lot of time into your art and your page. So you said that those 2 drawings that you were meant to submit to them were inspired by the other competitor, but were any other artworks that you've done in the past maybe inspired or similar to anything that Art with Shannon has produced?
From memory, I wouldn't say so.
Okay. And so this statement that Art with Shannon made, that was just to the company who you were giving the designs to, or was that, or did you put that on her Instagram or her public forums?
I believe it was like on one of the social media pages. Right. Again, I didn't see it myself. It was kind of just like I heard from what other people were saying.
Has this affected your social media page or presence at all?
Yes, I think in my comments I've started seeing more like hateful comments, that kind of thing.
Okay, I do know that we do have limited time left and we want to make sure to get onto some preliminary solutions for you. So are there any other details or anything else that you could let us know about anything? Anything that we might have missed or that might not have come up yet?
Well, no, I mean, I think the most important thing is that I've been cheated by these 3 different people, and I deserve to have justice served to me through the legal system.
We can definitely look at how we can try and achieve that. So moving on, if you don't have any more questions, we can move on to preliminary solutions.
Yeah, so these solutions are only preliminary and our advice may change depending on like what new information arises down the road, given this is only an initial consultation. So we know that costs are often a sensitive topic. We know that you've currently been, I guess, in your opinion, cheated out of quite a bit of money with both the multiple life situation and also the dispute with your employer. So I'm assuming that you would you prefer any kind of solutions and circumstances that are, I guess, less cost prohibitive, or is cost something that you aren't worried about? So, for example, going to court can be quite costly, but we can try and canvass other solutions if that's an issue for you.
Well, yes, I think I'd probably go with whatever the method will get me my money without me having to pay a lot.
And that's completely understandable, like especially as a student, it's a tough financial economy at the moment.
So in regards to the first issue about your attendance at the Institute, it doesn't look like from what you've told us so far there's any reason for us to take any direct legal action or any necessary proceedings. Like you mentioned, cost will be an issue and they can be unnecessarily expensive, especially because it seems that we can definitely deal with that issue in some other ways. So what we'd advise you first is to attend the meeting with the director, make sure to have a presence at that, and what I guess you have to understand in that conversation what the Art Institute is actually looking for you, especially if they haven't specified yet that they want to expel you or anything like that. However, if you do feel uncomfortable about attending that on your own or are nervous about what they might say, you can choose for us to represent you in that meeting and we can be there with you and help, I guess, speak on your behalf and advocate.
And obviously there are additional legal costs with retaining us beyond this first meeting. But should you desire like formal legal representation when you actually interact with these people, that is something that we are willing to do. Does that sound all right here? As a kind of like preliminary idea, just like attending the meeting first up, canvassing your options.
Yeah, because I mean I don't want to use some loophole with no one who actually understands what they're doing there.
Yeah. The other thing you can do if you want a more concrete track record of, I guess, what you're saying so that if it does escalate, there'll be any more records for legal purposes. We can help draft you a letter or you could write that yourself, just explaining your situation, explaining how your contribution to the showcase on the request of the director actually affected your scholarship and your academics. And since it is a school and they are looking to also invest in your future, we do expect that they would be quite lenient. And that would be a good initial step to avoid making anything more, I guess, problematic than it needs to be. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds okay as well.
All right.
As long as it's not too expensive.
That's something you could definitely do free of cost. And if you did want to and felt okay paying the extra cost of paying for a retainer, we could definitely help you with that. But that is an option that feel free to explore that by yourself as well.
And additionally, in that kind of initial I guess, letter to them, you can also kind of relay the conversation that you had with the art director to the best of your knowledge, in which they kind of assured you that your scholarship would be okay, and possibly ask them about their recollection of that conversation too. So there is at least some sort of like written paper trail of the conversation going forward.
Do you have any questions in regards to solutions about that issue at all?
Don't think so.
Okay. So then moving on to the next one about your part-time work at Craftopia. It does look like what you told us, getting paid for overtime work is something that is obviously very important. You told us that you signed a contract, so if you could give us a copy of that, so if you choose to retain it, send us a copy of that, we can look at that. It does look like from what you've told us there are grounds for seeking legal compensation. We could do that through negotiation, which is the first step in taking, I guess, a legal claim. And that would involve having lawyers represent you and having a discussion with Craftopia's representatives or lawyers and speaking with them to come to an agreement before we take it to court and seeing if we can settle that. That's usually a more time effective and also a much cheaper method of, I guess, trying to get compensation for
See, I'm not sure about that though, because as I've said, we're dealing with like the worst possible human imaginable, and I just don't feel like they're gonna negotiate. Like I feel like from past experiences, like I feel that's not gonna be enough.
Okay, we completely understand that. Often it is a good route to go through negotiation first before taking it to any formal court. However, if you don't think that negotiation is going to be suitable or you don't want to speak to the lawyer, to your manager, we can speak to their lawyers without you present so that you don't have to deal with that confrontation. Or we can also look into, I guess, pursuing it in court and taking legal action in that way.
Something else that might be worth considering is making a formal complaint with the Fair Work Ombudsman. So this is an avenue that is free of charge, although oftentimes those systems can be a little bit tricky to navigate. So the Fair Work Ombudsman is kind of in charge of regulating the sort of fair working conditions and of employees. And this is definitely something that would kind of fall within their purview. So it also might be worth looking into your rights under them. However, that is a process that can take a little bit more time. So if you wanted a more kind of efficient solution, I think legal representation would be a way to go, but it really is up to how long you want this to take and how quickly you want to try and come into acquisition of this overtime money.
The other thing to consider is there is the extra issue of the claim that they've made against you for the money of the goods that you've taken from the store.
I mean, but you guys can get rid of that, right? I didn't do anything wrong. It was just like...
We'd have to look at all of any evidence which they might have and also the documents which they've given to you to be able to give you any clear answer on that. But in terms of addressing it,
so you can't actually tell me what's going to happen with this right now?
We can't tell you what's going to happen with this, but we can try and assist you to the best of our abilities. Like I said, this is only...
So are you guys even actually good lawyers then if you can't tell me what's going to happen right now? Aren't you guys meant to know this kind of stuff?
We appreciate that it's frustrating and we do want to act in your best interest and make sure you feel ready. If you do want us to act for us and actually be able to take any action in regards to that claim, you can choose to retain us, at which point then we can look at some more substantive, actually give you
right, so you want me to pay you so that I can actually do things to the question?
To make sure that we are able to work to our best of quality, that would be the case.
I mean, no one knows what the outcome of any kind of legal dispute is actually going to be. But we will start by actually investigating the claim. So where did they acquire this sort of number in the tens of thousands from? Do they know what the inventory that was stolen was? And do they actually have any kind of concrete evidence? Or are they just unfairly persecuting you like you believe?
Yeah.
But should you choose to retain us, we are obviously on your side.
But just to consider as well, because they have that claim, negotiation might actually be a really good way to deal with that. That is a quiet setting where you wouldn't have to have any legal records if they try and pursue that. You could come to a settlement, so you wouldn't be actually charged with any criminal offences for taking that money. And considering that you do also have that employment claim against them, that actually might be a good setting to be able to use that to try avoid any actual criminal consequences because of taking.
I mean, but there shouldn't be any criminal consequences. They haven't done anything wrong.
I completely understand that. You can understand that, and that's definitely something we could also discuss in that negotiation to avoid that situation even coming up.
And again, actually going to a negotiation is quite a good thing because it can mitigate sort of financial costs, as Monica said, but also reputation costs. So no one would actually know about any of these claims, outside of the room, and it is just a lot more kind of cost effective.
Right. So I can avoid more hate comments in my.
Exactly. We do know that you have a really successful Instagram page, so if you also want to preserve that reputation, we do suggest negotiation as a good means of dealing with this issue. Yeah. So then in regards to the last one, so in regards to the designs that you told us about giving to that company, considering that it is already quite a public issue and you do have a public presence, we would recommend, I guess, just straight up dealing with and completely addressing what's actually happened, and that might help mitigate some of the hate comments that you're getting, kind of deal with that reputational damage, because we're sure that's important to you as an artist. So that might look like putting out a public statement yourself, explaining the situation, saying how you were inspired by the artworks rather than taking them, or even just apologizing if that's something that you'd be...
Absolutely not. I would never apologize.
Okay. That's okay. Would you be willing to engage in, I guess, a private conversation with them offline without anyone else kind of taking witness to it? Because that would, I guess, protect your reputation, but it also means that you could probably engage in more of a personal, honest conversation with this person and just kind of honestly explain that you were merely taking, I guess, inspiration.
I mean, maybe, but they're probably just jealous of me, so I don't know if that's actually gonna work.
All right, well, it sounds like that might be a good first step to deal with Shannon, is just kind of message them privately and to set up perhaps a one-on-one meeting, and we can go from there. Because like we said, we would kind of like to avoid any more kind of public detriment to you and your business. So I think dealing with things privately on this front is probably the best way to, I guess, initiate proceedings.
In regards to actually getting the extra $3,000 that you feel you're entitled from the company, we would recommend maybe coming up with new designs if you're open to that. We do know that you feel...
But again, I didn't steal them. They're trying to make me do something that I've already done.
Yeah, no, we completely understand that it could feel like that, and you've told us that you were inspired by the work, and that's completely understandable. But if the company is looking for completely unique designs, and that was in your...
But can't you guys just make them follow through what they promised me? Why should I have to do more if they promised me that they were going to pay me for the 5% that I delivered originally?
Right. Well, it seems that from what you've told us, that could maybe constitute an oral agreement, which is binding on both of you. So what they've asked of you is that you come up with 5 unique designs. We completely appreciate that you may believe that it fits into that criteria, but if it was inspired by another artist, we can see that maybe it doesn't actually fulfill that completely. And we want to make sure that you still get the money that you're entitled to. So what we can look into is having an informal conversation with the company to avoid any maybe bigger blowback on your reputation or anything like that, and just see if they'd be open to paying you the full amount if you were able to come up with 2 new unique designs. You are an incredibly accomplished artist from what you've told us, so I'm sure it would be a small matter for you, especially if we deal with this without any major other issues coming up. How does that sound?
Well, I guess it could be okay.
Okay.
Something else is also, like, if you are very much, I guess, attached to these 2 other designs that you've created, and noting that you are willing to admit that you've taken inspiration from Art with Shannon, you also could perhaps introduce them as a collaborator into the collection, like if you are very, very set on getting paid for and producing these designs, but that is something that is entirely your choice, and that also is obviously dependent on...
I mean, I don't want to do that with someone who called me a fraud, so probably not.
Alright, that's completely understandable. We just thought we'd raise that option, but it does seem like either sticking with the 3 designs you've already created and getting paid for those is the best option, or creating 2 unique designs, or also going to your art tropes as well and finding, I guess, other art that you might have created, especially when you're an art student. I presume you've got a pretty extensive portfolio you could draw from as well that would, I guess, limit the amount of work you'd have to do in order to actually acquire the full sum.
Yeah. So to summarise, just noting that we've come into the end of our session. So in regards to the first issue about your attendance at the Institute, we'd recommend attending that meeting. It doesn't seem like there's any need to escalate that further currently, but also maybe just writing an email or having a written letter of your situation explaining the circumstances that are the reason why you haven't been in the top 5%, just so there's a written record in case it does escalate. But considering your, I guess, position in the art school, and there's a clear correlation between the showcase and your scholarly or position, your academic record, so we don't anticipate that to be a problem, and so that would be the solution there. The next thing, in regards to your part-time work, we do recommend negotiation as potentially the main mode of dealing with that issue.
Especially because you have a claim against them, and it ostensibly seems like they might have a claim against you. I think just dealing with this in a private setting where you can both kind of speak about everything up front might be the best way to sort of negotiate what the best terms are for both of you.
If you do want us to represent you in that negotiation, we'll need from you a copy of your employment contract, any correspondence between you and your manager about overtime hours, the volunteering issue, anything that you might have about that, as well as any documents or emails that you received from the company. Don't worry if you can't remember this, our secretary will send to you all after, and you can choose whether or not you want to retain us and make that decision by yourself. And then in regards to the last issue, we would recommend that you have a conversation with Art with Shannon to deal with that personal issue there and see if she can retract maybe some of her public statements to avoid any damage to your reputation, as well as reaching out to the company and talking to them about creating those 2 new designs for that full amount.
As I said, going forward, we'll just need any kind of relevant documents or information, and our secretary will send you a summary of today's meeting. Once we've received a retainer from you, we'll prepare some thorough legal advice for our next meeting based on the information that you've given us today. We'll also kind of conduct more legal research on the merits of your case, particularly in terms of, I guess, the employment dispute that's going on with your with Craftopia, as well as, I guess, the sort of intricacies of like IP law and drawing inspiration, given that that is quite a technical field of law.
We know that we've brought up a lot of legal...
What is IP law?
So IP law refers to intellectual property law, and we can look at some of the more detailed issues about that if you choose to retain us. We know that we've brought up a lot of legal jargon today, and it can be a lot, but if you do choose for us to represent you, we just want you to know that we will have your best interests at heart, and our secretary, again, will send through all of this information, so you do have a track record of it, whichever direction you choose to take. So if you don't have any more questions, then I guess that brings us to the end of our consultation today.
Thank you.